What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Jake from Citizen JV, and today we're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed Revelations. This game comes full circle, as I previously mentioned in my previous video about this game, but today we are talking about the gameplay concepts and, the comparisons of from other games to this game as well. Two games in general, basically, when it comes to Revelations and Assassin's Creed Mirage. The first comparison I'm going to be talking about here is the fact that with the map comparison. The map comparison between that of Assassin's Creed Revelations and Mirage are one small condensed map. But the map in Revelations and Mirage are condensed into four different types of districts, which I actually really like, and I'm loving the way that they were able to utilize that in Assassin's Creed Mirage, because I felt like that when it came to Assassin's Creed, even Origins or Odyssey or Valhalla, those maps were utterly huge. But one thing I will say is that when it came to Origins, to me, I felt like the map was just right. In Odyssey and Valhalla, however, those maps were way too big for their own good for those two games. But I think that even Origin still had a bigger map, did have a big map. But to me, it felt less bloated, but it was more fun to me. But in Odyssey and Valhalla, it was just way too much. But anyways, for much further ado, we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed Revelations more so. I just want to put that small comparison at the beginning. However, I think Revelations does a really good job with everything, really, in my personal opinion, because, I love the gameplay. It's much brutal, much more quicker than it was in Brotherhood, in my personal opinion. I'm sure that some people will put some comments in the comment section and say, hey, well, I think the combat in Brotherhood was much faster than Revelations, but however, I'm just putting my own type of opinion or preference of why I think Revelations combat is quicker. So, either or. Now, to me personally, what I've noticed about Ezio Auditore in Revelations is that even though he is older, I can instantly tell that he does not want to be an assassin anymore after Revelations, and it's more so because I can instantly tell that even by playing it, because of the fact that even though he does care, but he knows that he's getting older and he knows that he doesn't want to do anymore, and it's quite understandable too, because of the fact that there is a short film called Assassin's Creed Embers, which actually takes place after the events of Revelations, and he's much older, he's sick. And for those of you who might not have watched the whole entire film or not watched it at all, I will not spoil anything, and you have to watch that short film for yourselves. But however, he actually eventually dies. So my apologies if I did spoil it. Whatever. Sorry. But however, I think Revelations is my second favorite when it comes to the Ezio trilogy, because I think when it came to Revelations, comparing it to Brotherhood's mission structure, the missions are not intertwined or all together. Sometimes I felt like that when a mission structure in Brotherhood, it's always like one to the other sometimes in some missions, not all the missions per se. But in Revelations, they weren't like that at all. And so it's like I love that mission structure in Revelations a little bit better than I did with Brotherhood, but Brotherhood did have some good mission structure as well. But one thing I will mention here, though, too, is that Brotherhood actually had some massive synchronization constraints, and Revelations is no different, because Revelations has that as well, and with that type of comparison. But however, I think when it came to Revelations, though, with its synchronization, 100% synchronizations, they're actually a little bit more forgiving than it was in Brotherhood, because I remember there was a mission, and I don't remember what kind of a mission it was, But once you get detected, you had to respawn and go. You had to restart a checkpoint again. If you get detected, you had to restart. Detected, restart. Detect. You get where I'm going with this. So I don't want to repeat myself more so anymore. But you get my point. So, but with Revelations, I didn't have that problem with this game, really. I really didn't, because of the fact that that's one of the reasons why I like Revelations a little bit more than Brotherhood. I mean, even though I have played these games succinctly from AC2, Brotherhood, and Revelations, but like I said, I still think that Revelations falls under my number 2, AC2 my number 1, and Brotherhood my number 3. But even though those games do have a good order of replayability, but however, I think Revelations to me feels like it has more replayability than Brotherhood because of those synchronization problems that I have with that game. So, but regardless, they're all still amazing trilogy for Ezio. Now, one thing I will put in here though too is that I really love the combat in Revelations. I think the combat in Revelations is better than Brotherhood's in my personal opinion because it's quicker, it's faster, and it's much more brutal. And a lot of people will probably say that the combat or its brutality of it in Brotherhood was a lot more quicker and faster than Revelations. But agree to disagree. But I just think that Revelations just does it better in my personal opinion or preference. Now, one thing I will say about Revelations as well, I think it's the setting. I love the setting in Revelations. You know, I'm not saying I don't like the setting in Brotherhood, which is in Rome. It's fascinating. I think it was absolutely amazing the way how it looked and how you're able to utilize certain types of areas to have better parkour mechanics and vice versa. But what I love about Revelations per se is that you get to have a hook blade in this game. And the hook blade is actually intertwined along with your hidden blade, and you use that as a hidden blade as well. So I actually like that core gameplay mechanic when it comes to either using the zip lines for your hook blade or using that hook blade as an assassination, because like I said, it intertwines with the assassination blade. So I think that's really cool, or hidden blade per se. But however, one thing is that I will say is that Revelations to me feels special because of the fact that it takes place in Constantinople. Constantinople is a Turkey, or it's known as Istanbul or Constantinople for some like Italians like Ezio. But I think that's why I liked Revelation so much, is because it is an era known from a person that we all know and love to a certain degree in so many vampire films and novels and TV shows, known as Vlad the Impaler, or known as Dracula. Yes, you have heard me correctly, and that's why I love Revelations as well. But what I will say, the introduction of Revelations is one of the most iconic introductions I have ever seen in a video game when it comes to an Assassin's Creed game, because I feel like when it came to Revelations, it's so cool. I love the introductory. I love the way how it just really. I just think it really holds Revelations to a massive T when it comes to introductions. But however, when I first initially played Assassin's Creed 2, I love the introduction of that game more so because it was the origin story of Ezio. But with Ezio in Revelations, like I said, he is older, he is a little wiser, but I don't want to repeat myself. So, anyways, I just think that Revelations just does something fairly unique from what I really didn't initially expect, because I think when it came to Revelations, it was the fact that it was its map. You know, I've already discussed about that, but actually, let's dive a little bit more into the map size. Similar to that of Mirages, which is coming out in the next few days of next week. But however, that's what I love about Revelations, is that it's all on one smaller map. And it's divided up into 4 different types of districts, and each district is always going to look differently. And that's what I love about Revelations map. And that's what Mirage's map is going to be like, though, too. Because each part of the map of Mirage's map in 9th century Baghdad, it's going to be separate into 4 different types of districts. And that's where 9th century Baghdad and Mirage is going to be from what Revelations map is. It's divided up into 4 different types of districts, and each district is going to be very different to that of the game itself. And that is fascinating to me, and I love that. I love that concept and the way how it's going to really utilize the game to be, how it's going to help BASM to a certain degree of its, parkour mechanics of the game. And I love the whole entire concept of what Mirage is going to be, and it's very exciting. And that's where I was saying that's what I love about Revelations as a whole as well, because Revelations just does a really good job with that concept aesthetic, and I love that. And so I think that's where Revelations, to me, it will always, like I said, it will always be my second favorite in the Ezio trilogy. And like I said before, but however, I just think that Revelations is always going to be one of those games to where it has a unique setting, much like any other Assassin's Creed game does. And that's what I really love about this series as a whole, because each Assassin's Creed game is always going to be different to a certain type of degree when it comes to the world building itself and the concept of it. And I love the attention to detail each of these games really pertain of themselves, and it shows of how great these games really are, because it has to do with the eras that these games also take place in. And that's another thing what I really love about this series as a whole as well. Like much like the Caribbean and Black Flag, much like in Constantinople and Revelations, much like in Florence, Italy in AC2, or Rome in Brotherhood, and all the other Assassin's Creed that we have played. And so I think it's greatly to know that these games are never going to die down. That's what I will say. And so I'm very excited to what Assassin's Creed China is going to be like, or Red, I think that's what it's called, which is probably going to be coming out in the next year or two, I think. I think it's 2024, I believe. That's what I've been hearing. But overall, I really just think that Mirage is going to do an amazing job when it comes out. I'm very happy for where that game is going, and I really think that game is going to be absolutely amazing in terms of its structure of everything, its combat, how it's similar to that of Valhalla's pairing system. But however, it's still going to feel, I did eventually get a lot of Assassin's Creed 1 vibes into it. And that's where I feel like that's where Assassin's Creed Mirage is going to be fairly special to that, to holding true to some certain type of degree of knowing that it's going to be reminiscent of the old school Assassin's Creed titles. And, to me personally, I really think that it's going to be or do well in terms of reviews. I really do believe that, because, as I have always mentioned before in my past videos that I made when it comes to my commentary, is that I'm not trying to be a professional here. I'm not. I am doing this for passion. I am doing this for fun. And that's all that matters to me. So I'm just putting this out there as well, though, too, so for some people who are not subscribed to my channel. And so that way I just want you guys to know that I do things a little bit more differently than most YouTubers out there do. And I think that's what makes me different or unique in a certain type of way. So like I said, I just want to put this out there and, get that off my chest, because I just feel like that. Because I do sometimes feel like that maybe I'm just not as good as I want to be, but I've learned to improve, and I think that's what's the greatest thing about me being different to a certain degree. But even so, Revelations is definitely a really good game to play in 2023. I do highly believe that. I do believe that any of the older school Assassin's Creed games are meant to they do have a lot of replayability. There's no question about it. And so I think, if you want to start out playing the very first one from 2007, by all means play it. But what I will say is that if you want to play the original Assassin's Creed game, by all means play the director's cut on PC, because they do not have that version on console, which kind of sucks, but I kind of wish that they did, but they didn't. But however, I still think that game is still really holds up to this day. I really do believe that. I actually thought about maybe trying to get back into it eventually on my PlayStation 3, and believe it or not, I actually still have that system, which is amazing. But either or, I just think that Revelations just still holds a place in my heart. It really does, because I mean, do I really? I have replayed some Brotherhood recently too, as well. But however, it's just the fact that with the time constraints that the game has with its synchronizations, it's atrocious. But it's less atrocious in Revelations. That's why I like Revelations a little bit more when it comes to synchronization. But like I said, it is what it is. It's my opinion, and I'm just gonna keep my opinion to that. So it's whatever. But either or, I really think that I don't think I have really much more to say. Really, I think. Oh yeah, one thing is that I do believe when it comes to Mirage is that it does have some copy and paste when it comes to the pairing system in that game, and so I really think that it's okay to have that, because they did use some of Valhalla's engine to make that game, because they wanted to make that game to be a prequel to Valhalla, which it is. And so I think that's just, to me, it just makes sense. So either or, it's like, I really don't care what other people say about the game. All I can say is that I'm very excited for it, and I just can't wait. So, but other than that, I think Revelations really sticks true to what an Assassin's Creed game really is when it comes to the old school. And so all I can say is that, I hope everyone really enjoys playing the old school games, even today in 2023. And like I said, they still hold true to the formula of the old school days of these games. And so I think it's really greatly important to know that, we could get more games much like these games, or much like what Mirage is doing in terms of its gameplay, combat, gameplay structure, its concepts of the world itself with the map, and how it can really be a huge benefit of maybe possibly bringing other Assassin's Creed game titles in the not too distant future to have that type of implementation as well. That would be quite exciting. But anyways, too much further ado, this is Jake from Citizen JV. Thank you for tuning in. Greatly appreciated. Any comments or questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. Be more than happy to reply back if and whenever possible. And you guys have a good rest of your weekend. Peace.